Hi, I'm Ethan Harris, Stony Brook School class of 1971, and a new trustee on the board. And we have the great privilege today of meeting with Josh Crane. And Josh, it's a pleasure to have you here at Stony Brook today. And thank you for taking the time to meet with us. For those of you watching on the school's YouTube channel, Josh is the just newly appointed head to come aboard Stony Brook on July 1. And you're in here, we're taping this here in the 1st of February, and so you have a number of months to go before you actually start work, but you're here on campus this weekend, and
Yes.
it's a pleasure to have you here.
It's great to be here.
Yeah. The purpose of the interview here briefly is just to help people in the Stony Brook community get their first visibility into who Josh Crane is and get to know you a little bit. Before you arrive on campus and start working here. And just tell us a little bit about your background, where'd you grow up, and where'd you go to school, and all that sort of fun stuff. Give us a little sense of your background.
Yeah. So I grew up moving around a lot, primarily in the Northeast. So we call the tri-state area home, New York, New Jersey, Connecticut. Yeah. We spent, as much as we moved around, we spent the summers in Vermont. So Vermont was kind of an anchor for our family. Wherever we lived, we would come back for the summers in Vermont. And so I would consider myself a New Englander at some level, and went to high school, though, in Atlanta, and then went on to boarding school at Northwood Mount Hermon in Massachusetts. My boarding school experience was a fantastic and formative experience for me as I lived with folks from all over the world, and really just got a chance to focus on my academics, pursue relationships, at the school, and really learned about what a great secondary experience is like, and so that was really fantastic. For college, I went to Vanderbilt, graduated from Vanderbilt in 1995, with a bachelor's in English. After that, I went to Scotland. Went abroad for a year, and my favorite course when I was an undergraduate was European Romanticism. I really enjoyed studying particularly the English poets, Byron, Shelley, Keats, and Wordsworth. And this course in Scotland, the University of Glasgow, was offering a master's course in that. And so I saw that and applied and went to Scotland, which was really a fantastic experience for me as well, because I lived with folks from, again, all over the world. And I had a great experience there.
You didn't pick up the Scottish brogue while you were there.
I didn't. When I was there, I might have had a little bit of it, but it's left me since then.
What happened after Scotland?
Yeah. So I was coming back to the States thinking, I want to teach AP English. I want to take all this great philosophy and literature that I've learned and teach it to 12th graders. That was my plan, to go and teach AP English. I believe God has a sense of humor, and he put me in 6th grade teaching English. That was the job that was available to me at the time, coming back in Nashville, Tennessee, where I was. And I really enjoyed it. But I found that teaching Byron to 6th graders was kind of hard. They don't really have a Byron for Kids book out there. So I taught, though, really enjoyed that, coached basketball and baseball. But my father was a technology executive, and so it was the height of the dot-com boom. I had my eye on that world. It coincided with the birth of my first daughter, and so I made a move into the business world, where I jumped on with a dot-com high flyer in Nashville. We built websites, internet applications for businesses, and we were the quintessential .com.
That's quite a gear shift going from teaching into high tech like that.
It was a big gear shift, a right angle turn, but it was a great experience. But the company I was working for was, again, a quintessential .com, and it went up like this and then down like that. So it was a real learning experience for me. But I did finish my business career. I jumped on with another firm after that, and really was able to see good business practices worked out, lived out, and that also taught me a lot. But towards the end of that time, I really began to feel a restlessness in my spirit, that there was something else that was out there for me to do. And I couldn't quite put my finger on it at the time. So I thought about possibly being a pastor, pursued seminary, thought about that. My wife shut the door on that for me, and as I look back, that probably was the best choice. My wife has a way of steering me in good directions, and made the decision to go back into education. And that was a decision that was really supported and encouraged by a lot of my friends and mentors who really found that to be the best place for me.
Mm-hmm.
So I jumped on I say jumped on. I began looking and investigating opportunities, and a friend of mine who was my first principal when I was teaching became head of school at another school, and I began networking with him, and he mentioned a school in St. Louis. And I said, I know that place, and he wondered how I knew it. And it's because I had been to St. Louis looking at the possibility of going to Covenant Seminary to be a pastor. And while I was investigating that opportunity, I found out about this school that he mentioned. So when I showed him that I knew about it, he made a call on my behalf. They were looking for a head of school, and that's where I've been for the last 8 years, leading a school in St. Louis, Missouri.
My understanding, and from our discussions, you had quite a challenge when you came there to take a school that really had a lot of growth to do and,
Yes.
and work ahead of you. And how did you work the process over there?
Yeah, a lot of prayer, for sure. But it was about seeing what folks maybe couldn't see, having a vision for what the school could become. It had struggled financially. It had declining enrollment, and the teacher morale and just quality of the individuals on the campus. They needed some help. They needed some growth. They needed some investment. And so I just believed from the beginning that the school could be a great school. And so it was about casting vision, sharing with people what it is that I wanted to accomplish, what we could accomplish as a community, what the Lord could do through us, and just started executing on a plan. And I'd love to say that I had this great plan that I brought, and it was all on me. There was so much that the Lord did and worked in that situation that I look back and I just say, wow, Lord, you really blessed that. But it started with vision. In the belief that the school could be more than what it was at the time.
You looked at Stony Brook today. How did you first hear about Stony Brook, and what was the thought going through your mind when you started looking seriously at applying for the position?
Yeah. Well, Stony Brook is a special place for me. I grew up hearing about it, and I had this vision in my head of what Stony Brook was like, that it was the boarding school that remained true to its faith roots, but also was excellent academically. And so, as someone who is passionate about Christian education, it was in some ways this vision of what I wanted, a school to be like. That is, I believe, the number one challenge in Christian education is getting the kind of faculty who have the intellectual horsepower and the deep faith commitment to really make a difference in kids' lives. And so, looking at it, thinking about it, I thought, wow, that's Shangri-La. That's the place where you want to go. And it was really neat to find out that they were looking, for a head of school. And as I poked around and began to investigate, in a real sense, reality met my imagination. And so often we have expectations that are disappointed by reality. But in this case, the expectation was high, and it was met. As I became more acquainted with the school and started to talk to people and interview and all of those things.
Did you think you had a really good shot at it?
I always felt like I could do it, but I didn't know if that would be. I didn't know if that would be the way it would work out. Just seeking the Lord. There was an opportunity in St. Louis. In some ways, I thought I was going to pursue and going to get. But when this came up and this prospect became more real, I just found my heart growing more and more excited about the prospect.
You felt a calling.
I felt a calling.
Yeah. You're going to be going through a transition process, and you and I have spoken on the phone a number of times, and I know you want to finish strong and complete your obligations out in St. Louis. Coming into a community like Stony Brook, you must be awfully excited. Your family's got to be really, really excited about this opportunity and coming to Long Island and jumping into this.
Yes.
Are you over the shock yet of it? And what's your sense of going through the transition process now?
Yeah, what's really interesting, and I was having this conversation with my wife before I came here. We both said to each other, wow, we made a major life decision coming to a place that we'd only been for 2.5 days. But at the same time, we felt such a sense of calling, such a sense of the Lord's direction for us as a family. Because going into this, yes, it was about my job and this opportunity for me, but we're a family, and we trust that where God is leading, everybody is going to benefit. And so being here is really, for us, really exciting, because I just see the amazing community that Stony Brook is, and living in that community together with peers, is something that is deeply encouraging, I think, and exhilarating. I mean, this is really, we see this as challenging, as folks who have deep spiritual commitment, deep academic commitment, and as iron sharpens iron, the proverb says. I really feel like this is going to be a situation where we're going to grow a lot too, just being around everybody here. But my girls are very excited about it. Their grandparents live in Manhattan. Their aunts and uncles live in Manhattan, cousins, and so for them, it's the opportunity to be near family. And so I think that's another big motivating factor. That's taking the edge off being in a place where leaving a place where they've been pretty much all of their lives.
Yeah. Tell us about your kids and your family and your wife. Give us a little picture of your family, if you can.
Sure. So I have 4 girls.
Wow.
And they keep me very busy. So Rachel is our oldest. She's 12. Rebecca is 10. Ruth is 7. And Naomi is 3. You'll notice the alliteration there, the consonant R, and we really thought hard about that 4th girl being Rahab, but we had to pass. And apologies to anybody who has an Aunt Rahab. But our girls are, after God, they're the center of our lives. They're unique. It's amazing how you have, from the same parents, 4 very different children. And so what they do share in common is a love for swimming. They're competitive swimmers and quite good at it. But their personalities are very different. And some love school, some don't like school so much. That's been a little bit of a challenge as the headmaster, who's their headmaster. By the grace of God, they've avoided the principal's office by and large, which has been nice from a discipline perspective. But they're really neat kids, and they have a faith. I believe they know the Lord, and that's what means the most to Jennifer and me.
Talk about Jennifer a little bit. Where did you guys meet?
We met post-college. Jennifer was working in Memphis, Tennessee, there where she's from, after graduating from Princeton. She was actually working for a financial services firm, but she is a Renaissance woman. She's an architecture major from Princeton, but she also played college tennis for Princeton, and was working because her dad is in the financial services industry, was working with him. A mutual friend of ours set us up. I was living in Nashville at the time. She was in Memphis, about a 3-hour drive. And a friend of mine had come over, he's from Memphis, had come over to Nashville and said, I have some pretty neat friends that you might want to meet. And he told me about this one particular girl who was tall, went to Princeton, and was a great tennis player. So I said, I'm going to come over to Memphis, and can you have her come out with us? And sure enough, we all went out one night and hit it off. And the neat part of the story is, so we made a great connection, but Nashville and Memphis are 3 hours away. And so, how's this going to work? Well, it turns out that my pastor in Scotland was preaching at her church 2 weeks after we met. So I had a great opportunity to not look too desperate and say, hey, my pastor in Scotland is going to be in town preaching your church. What are the odds? Let's go out the night before. So we did, and the rest is history. We dated for a year. We're engaged for 6 months, and now I've been married for 15 years.
That's terrific. Very good story.
Yeah.
What does the Stony? You have a great opportunity for cameras here in a short interview like this. What do you want the Stony Brook community to know about Josh Crane as you come into this community?
Yeah. What I want folks to know is, I love people, and people are what drive a school. Schools thrive when human capital is high, and what I would want folks to know is, I really am energized by people, hearing their stories, seeing how they're wired, seeing what plans the Lord has for them, and watching them grow in that potential. And that's certainly the case for students, but it's also the case for faculty and parents, and just getting to know people, and of course alums. So, I really would want them to know that I'm interested in them. I'm interested in their stories. I'm particularly interested in their stories as it relates to Stony Brook. When you think about the vast alumni base that this school has, what was their experience like? I've had the privilege of talking to a few in my preparation for my interview process and then post appointment, and it's just they share a passion in common that I think is just so compelling. To hear their stories, to see how Stony Brook has shaped them in their lives, that's very energizing for me. So I want to hear more and more about those.
I can affirm that just on the interviews we did for the Archives Project. I have had exposure to a lot of alums from the earlier generations of the school. What you just said really resonates because there's a strong affinity and identification with how the school shaped them in their formative years. What do you hope to accomplish? I know you haven't set your sights and vision and all that stuff. It's a bit early for that sort of stuff. But what do you hope to bring to the school?
Yeah. What I certainly want to do is continue to build the community and move forward together towards common goals that we're able to establish. Certainly want to focus on the mission of the school and amplify it. But at my core, I really believe Stony Brook has a national and even worldwide leadership opportunity within faith-based education. As I mentioned before, I really think that Stony Brook holds a special place in people's minds as the place where faith and academics have come together most powerfully. And I think that at this particular time in the life of Christian schools in this country anyway, they're hungering for that kind of leadership. They want to see it visibly demonstrated, and they want to know how. And I think that Stony Brook has this incredible leadership opportunity. As we care for the children, the students in our walls, we have a chance to have almost a multiplier effect, I think, so that folks who are wanting to know how it is that Christian education can be so powerful, they can look to Stony Brook and see passionate teachers living out their faith, working with these kids, and bringing to bear their native gifts and talents, their intellectual horsepower. I think the fruit of that is really special, and it's a story that needs to be told, not just within this community, but beyond.
Well, let me add my voice to the chorus of people who are welcoming you to Stony Brook, and we look forward to seeing you again on campus. And I know there's going to be a lot of people looking forward to meeting you over the course of the next year as you get settled in and get underway here at Stony Brook. And congratulations on being chosen and for accepting the role and taking it on. And we're glad to have you here. I know in the board discussions that I've been part of, there was a lot of enthusiasm and excitement, and we're really looking forward to having you on board as the next head of school here at Stony Brook. So, and thank you for taking the time to sit down with us for this brief chat. So,
Great.
thank you very much.
Thank you.